All right, guys, welcome into 5 college basketball teams that I absolutely love going into March Madness. I'm going to pick like 5 different teams and then talk about even some other teams that I really do like and probably will have going further than where they are seeded. Now, just as kind of a rule, I'm not going to be talking about any 1 seeds because we all expect 1 seeds to make the Sweet 16, things like that. It's going to be mainly, I think I have 1, 2 seed and then lower. So this is kind of just like mid-tier seeds that I think are going to do really well in March and outperform their seed rank. And the first team we're going to be looking at, it is Marquette. And it's just a weird kind of vibe I get with Marquette. I think it was like a vision that I had a few weeks ago with Marquette in the Final Four. I will admit, they are the prototypical team to like lose to a 14 seed. But guys, there's something about Marquette. When I look at this team and I look at their analytics, they do have a fatal flaw that, in my opinion, you can't pick Marquette to win the national title, but you can certainly pick them to go to the Final Four. They look right now like they're a 2 or a 3 seed. They've got a top 10 offense. The issue is that defensive rating. You look at it right there, it's 64th. Traditionally, when you're picking a national champion winner, you want to go with a team that's elite on offense and defense, and at least in terms of efficiency, Marquette is not. Now, looking at Marquette, the way they're playing, the St. John's game wasn't great, but it was a noon start time. It's important to remember that. And then a very good game against Connecticut, who I love Connecticut as well. They're actually on this list as well as teams that I love. And then they have a game against Xavier. Whatever that happens there, it's not going to have too big of an impact on me. We will see what type of draw Marquette gets looking at their overall roster. We're talking about 4 players that are significantly above average on offense. That's the kind of depth I like when it comes to March. Not a great 3-point shooting team, but I would say good enough to get hot. And Marquette is just kind of a team I'm vibing with right now, possibly as a lower 2 seed or kind of on the top of the 3 line. If they are a 3 seed, they'll probably have to face a 6 in the second round. And I like Marquette minimum Sweet 16, but I am thinking of going bolder and putting them in my Final Four. Just as kind of a general gauge when it comes to your Final Four, you're going to want, I would say, 1 seed. And if I'm choosing a 1 seed to my Final Four, it's between Houston and Alabama. I'm not interested in Purdue. I'm not interested in one of the Pac-12 teams, UCLA, with the injury and things like that. And then like 1, 2 seed, probably 1, 4, 5 seed, and then maybe a Cinderella. But normally it's like 1 seed, 1 2 seed, and then like a combination of 2 mid-tier seeds. So Marquette is a team I'm definitely interested in. They've had a great, year in the Big East, very tough conference. And I don't know what their record is. I don't know how many wins that is. It looks like they've gone in their last 20 games, maybe 18-2. So that is definitely something you want to take into account. Teams that are playing well going into the tournament. We'll see if Marquette beats Xavier, but it's not going to have a major effect on me. I don't take conference tournament results and like say, oh my God, this team lost, so I can't pick them. It has an effect, but you have to think about the bigger picture. The next team, it's another Big East team, and it's UConn. So UConn is a fickle team, man, because you see teams like UConn, you see teams like Tennessee that kind of have a lot of losses, but they're still thought of extremely highly in terms of their analytics. UConn probably going to be a 4 seed, but they're number 5 overall in terms of T rank. They've got the number 7 offense, the number 20 defense. That is amazing. When you're talking about top 20 in terms of offensive and defensive efficiency, that's something I really like. And then recently, you take a look at their last 10 overall, they're number 2 in the entire country. That tells me they are very hot going into the tournament. Take a look at that far right side. You can see all that green in terms of the game score. 95 game score, 95 game score, 94, 100, 97, 97. And then they did lose to Marquette. again, I think Marquette's a great team, so that was a very competitive 2-point loss. And I think if you don't have UConn, minimum, it depends on the draw. It depends on the draw, but analytically, let's be honest, if you don't have UConn at least inside, into the Sweet 16, you're a casual. Minimum Sweet 16, but I'm thinking with the Big East, I'm thinking Marquette to the Final Four, UConn Elite Eight. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting right now. Again, it depends on the seeding. Maybe they run into a really good team and I have to pick against them. But I'm looking at this UConn team. I'm seeing 4 elite above average offensive players, which is exactly what I want when it comes to the depth and everything like that. And you're looking at a team that's been so good, especially recently. I like Marquette. I like UConn. I'm thinking minimum, both of them Sweet 16. I'm thinking possibly both into the Elite Eight. Those are going to be the 2 Big East teams that really show out well in terms of the tournament. I do not like Xavier. I do not like Creighton. I think they're too inconsistent. So I think those teams are going to be knocked out a little bit earlier. Looking at the next team that I love, it is Kentucky. So definitely this is one that I'm sure a lot of people are going to be surprised by. Kentucky, the tournament performance against Vanderbilt was not good. But overall, I'm someone that believes in the reversal of trends. Back in 2019, Virginia was coming off of losing to a 16 seed. We remember the only team to lose to a 16 seed. And I picked Virginia as a 1 seed to win the national title the year after they lost to a 16 seed, and they did. And we're looking at this Kentucky team with Oscar Tshiebwe, with Calipari, losing to St. Peter's last year. They're due for a major tournament run. Let's use 4D chess. Let's think 3D here and say, you know what? This team, they got upset last year. Whatever they are they a 6 seed? Are they a 7 seed? I don't care. I think if they're a 7 seed, they're going to beat a 2 seed, possibly Arizona, in that second round. You take a look at this team. We're talking about 4 above average offensive players, which is what I want to see. Carson Wallace, the true freshman, who really is now more seasoned. There's so much talent. Reeves is the 3-point veteran specialist. I like this Kentucky team. It depends on the draw. But if you're talking about like a lower seed, whether Kentucky ends up being, a 6 or 7, whatever. I know they just lost to Vanderbilt, so that's going to hurt a little bit. But I still like Kentucky. I'm not a prisoner of the moment. So when it comes to the SEC, we know Alabama, but Kentucky is really a team I like as well. And then how about another team from the SEC? This is a risky one, and I'm not saying I'm going to have Arkansas beating a 1 seed, but I will say if Arkansas, they're going to be an 8 or a 9 seed, right? Second round, if they face Purdue, if Purdue's a 1 seed, I would pick Arkansas in that game right now. Let's go. Give me Arkansas. I can feel it. This Arkansas team, the guard play in the tournament, it's lethal. Yes, they're only 20-13, but their analytics are a lot better than that. You take a look deep. This is what's interesting about Arkansas. I think of them as kind of an offensive fun team, and they've got the 13th ranked defense in college basketball according to the efficiency metrics. So they're very interesting. They will be in an 8v9 matchup, and they did have a tough finish to their season, but I will say that win against Auburn was impressive, and they were beating Texas A&M by 10 points in the second half. So they did lose to A&M, but they were beating them, and you take a look at their overall roster. It's the guard play. It's the 2 freshmen who are kind of getting better as the season has gone on. Anthony Black, Nick Smith Jr., those are guys, Nick Smith Jr., #1 overall recruit. He's a guy that's going to want to have a really good tournament. This is an Arkansas team that I could see really riding elite guard play and possibly having a Sweet 16 type run, beating a 1 seed in the second round. If they get in the Houston bracket, I would say it's very hard. It's a bad draw. But let's say they're facing Purdue, UCLA without, Jalen Clark. Things get really interesting. I like that Kentucky or that Arkansas team to possibly do some damage in terms of that. The next team we're going to be looking at is Michigan State. So this is another team. Yes, they lost to Ohio State. But guys, let's understand the context of that loss. I'm going to talk about it in a second. We're going to look at their overall season. Recently they've had some good games. You look at that Ohio State loss. They were 3 of 16 from 3. Ohio State was 10 of 19. Let's call it what it is, folks. It's a fluke. It was a fluke loss. Let's not put too much stock into it. This is a team, you've got 2 elite guards, your top 4 overall players. Senior, junior, senior, mixed with Tom Izzo in March. Yes, please. Yes, please. They're a lower seed that can do some damage. Michigan State, the way they look right now, they do have to start making their threes again. They do. If they miss threes, well, I guess it's kind of like that with every team, though, so you really can't single Michigan State out, but they're a very streaky team, but surprisingly, they don't shoot a lot of threes, but they're very efficient when they do shoot them, except for yesterday against Ohio State. So Michigan State, they get the double bye in the Big Ten tournament. Yes, they end up losing that game to Ohio State, but it was a little fluky when you take a look at the advanced stats and things like that. This Michigan State team, if they get the right draw and they get a second-round game against a 2 or a 3 seed, depending on who it is, I could have Michigan State advancing pretty far. And then just a few other teams I wanted to shout out. At some point, we have to start talking about Utah State. This is the hottest team in college basketball right now. Utah State, they were on the bubble somehow. They're top 25 in terms of T rank. And you take a look, really good offensive team, ranked 13th. On defense, they're 72nd. So that kind of caps their ceiling, I would probably say, if they made a Cinderella run, kind of as an Elite 8 team. But this is a team probably going to be a 10 seed. Maybe they fall to the 11 line. But recently, the game scores, the bottom right, 91, 98, 97, 98, 92. They're playing in the Mountain West against San Diego State. I think that's the Mountain West Championship. They have been on a big run recently, and they've got 4 significantly above average offensive players. So Utah State is now on my radar as an 11 seed, as long as they're not in the first 4, which I don't think they will be because they keep winning these games. They're playing themselves maybe even onto the 10 line. They're on my radar possibly as a Sweet 16 team just because of how good they've been. And I am going to have to start talking about Duke as well, because say what you want about the ACC, this Duke team, they're so deep. As long as these true freshmen, at this point, are they even true freshmen? They've played 35 games in college or whatever it is, 33 games. This is a Duke team. Yes, they've benefited from being in the ACC, but they're winning games, they've got momentum, and they really have played unbelievable in the ACC tournament. So we're going to have to see how they do against Virginia, but Duke is a team that's getting on my radar. You can take a look, really no elite players there, but you've got significant potential. You're looking at a slew of 5-star true freshmen guys. You're looking at a Jeremy Roach. It seems like he can go off and have like a 35-point second-round game. He just seems like the type of player as a junior. Very, very talented team. So Duke has kind of entered my radar. I'm kind of being flexible here and really looking at some of these teams that are very, very impressive when it comes to March. And then I did want to say, there's going to be a lot of people that pick against 5 seeds in this tournament. Let's first look at this. Who are the 5 seeds? Miami, Iowa State, San Diego State, TCU. Where is St. Mary's? St. Mary's is a 6 seed. So maybe St. Mary's won't be a 5 seed, but if St. Mary's is a 5 seed, I'm very intrigued with St. Mary's. They have a very good offensive balanced profile, and there will be a lot of people picking against St. Mary's because St. Mary's got crushed by Gonzaga in their conference championship game, but let's not overreact to that one game. It's a deep St. Mary's team that has 4 significantly above average offensive players. So St. Mary's is a team to watch, even though they have struggled. And then another team I would say to watch is Memphis. I want to see how Memphis plays in the American. They're into their semifinal game. They're another team that I think has an upset potential facing a 1 seed. We will see on that. But either way, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, Link to that's always in the description.